Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome, Sharath. Welcome to the Digital Adoption Show.
My pleasure.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the brand new season of the Digital Adoption Show. Can you believe it? 4 incredible years and more than 50,000 listeners. Let me tell you, we're just getting started. We will continue to bring the latest insights from the world of L&D, HR, and tech. I'm your host for today's episode, Tathagat Das Sharma, Head of Analyst and Strategic Influencer Relations at Whatfix. And I couldn't be more thrilled to kick off season 5 with you. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to the Digital Adoption Show on your favorite podcast platform. To kick things off, we thought, what better way to start the new season than by exploring some of the major trends shaping tech in 2025. To help us unpack today's topic, we have a guest who truly needs no introduction, but absolutely deserves one. Our guest for the first episode is one of the foremost voices shaping the future of work and technology, Sharath Hari, Vice President at Everest Group. With nearly a decade of experience, Sharath has earned a stellar reputation as a seasoned industry analyst and advisor. He is a leading expert in HR, digital adoption, and employee experience solutions. With over 50 major publications, Sharath leads customer advisory engagements, including go-to-market strategies, value propositions, thought leadership, and competitive intelligence. His keen focus is really helping clients navigate the disruptive world of HR and keeping up with the trends like outsourcing, digital adoption, and employee experience innovation. Sharath, welcome to the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Excellent. So speaking of your journey, Sharath, how did it all begin? We would love to hear your story.
Yeah, I mean, I was always a problem solver since my childhood days, and that continued through college as well. And when I got an opportunity to intern with Everest Group, I did not know what to expect, but I was exposed to the world of research and analyst firms, right? So a lot of different experiences I got when I was with the firm, which truly opened my eyes to what research is and how do you find the right data, how do you make it relevant to the context, and how do you solve clients' problem statements, right? And fast forward to 2025, I wear various hats in my day-to-day. As a researcher, I'm always looking for the right data points. As an analyst, I'm trying to form a point of view on how certain things will evolve, certain things will shape the market. And as a consultant, I try to put myself in the shoes of the customer and try to see what problems they're facing and how do I solve them.
Thanks, Sharath, for sharing your story. That was really insightful. Before we dive deeper, let's quickly talk about what's new this season. In the spirit of keeping things fresh and fun, we have revamped our rapid fire segment. Remember the triple strike from the past episodes? Well, it's time to say hello to this or that. It's a quirky new game where you'll face some wild binary choices and let us in on what makes you tick. So, this or that, here are first choices: Marvel or DC?
Marvel,
Interesting. Who is your favorite Marvel character?
Thanos,
Apple or Android?
Android. I've never used an Apple phone or
That's
any Apple device for that matter.
book before the movie or movie before the book?
Just the movie.
Voice notes or text?
Text, actually. I've never really been a fan of voice notes.
And the last one, self-driving or manual driving, irrespective of the distance.
Yeah, let's try a hybrid. I'll drive first. When I get tired, I'll switch to self-driving.
That's fine. That's wonderful. I'll give you a small story. This time around, when we attended Dreamforce, that was the first time that I used the Waymo services. And that really was one of the highlights of 2024 for me personally. Now, that was fun. Let's get back to the business and dive into the heart of today's conversation. Stick around, people, because by the end of this episode, we promise you'll walk away with actionable insights to tackle some of the biggest challenges in your role today. So today's opening question, Sharath, is really around everyone's been focusing on challenges lately. AI disruptions, macroeconomic shifts, and so forth. But let's get a different perspective. These are once in a lifetime generational transformations, but that also brings a lot of opportunities. From your perspective, what are the major trends that are emerging, and how are they shaping the key priorities for 2025?
Yep, thanks for setting this up perfectly, TD. So in my conversations, of course, different people have different conversations with their customers, etc. Right? So I come with a different point of view. So of course, we are in our professional careers. I don't think we are ever going to have another opportunity to make meaningful impact in our organizations than we have right now. So three opportunities I see organizations talking about when I interact with them. The first one is around experience, right? It could be both customer and employee experience. And we've all seen those stats where, focusing on better customer experience or better employee experience drives real business outcomes, increase in share prices, and so on. So I think organizations that really focus on customer and employee experience going into 2025 and beyond, they will definitely be better placed to navigate the challenges that you talked about. The second one is around data-driven decision making. Nowadays, all decisions across businesses tie into business outcomes. Right? Any investment that you're doing in marketing, sales, people, everything has to be backed by data. Right? And companies that really understand how to use data to build a business case to make the right investment decisions, they will be the ones who are able to navigate some of these challenges and changes that are going to happen. Right? Mm-hmm. And the last one is, again, we see a continuous increase in spend in data, in analytics, and AI, movement from legacy to cloud software, and so on. Right? Mm. So organizations that are willing to adopt AI, I believe that they will get the edge, right? Organizations that are ready to evolve their businesses, evolve their processes to capitalize on these opportunities, they will definitely have a competitive edge in the marketplace. So I see some of these things playing out already, but going into 2025, I think these are going to be more prominent.
Excellent. You also spoke about people and the skills that people bring to an organization being an important aspect to it. Can you throw some light around that? What has been the trend post the pandemic and what you're seeing in the future?
Yeah, I mean, if you look after the pandemic, every year it's been a story in itself, right? You had the bounce back from the pandemic, then you had great resignation, then you had and you're still in the AI revolution. Right? So people are the one that really takes you through these challenges and navigate the change that lies ahead and has happened already. So it is critical for organizations to build a culture that empowers the employees to take the right decisions and to put the right skills at the right places. So organizations that are able to do that are going to be, able to evolve and thrive in these difficult times. And again, skills-based organization is a topic that I'm very fond of. Right, I'm doing a lot of research on skills-based organizations, and people may call it skills-powered organization or skills-informed organization. There are a lot of ways you can think about it. But at the end of the day, organizations should think about skills as the foundational element that really drives them forward and not really focus on roles or job descriptions. Right? So one of the things that in my research I found was 86% of enterprises, they feel that there is a huge talent scarcity or skill scarcity. Right? And organizations are doing a lot of investments in becoming a skills-based organization. So that's where I see the future moving towards.
That's really insightful. And even in your recent interview at the Unleash Paris event and some of the roundtables, you mentioned that scarcity of talent is forcing organizations to rethink how they approach skill building. We want to explore that a little further, right? How can organizations address this aspect more effectively so that it aligns to the business goals and really creates meaningful conversations when they present this to the board?
In my conversations, organizations have told me that, hey, traditional talent acquisition and talent management practices don't work anymore. So definitely they need to shift the focus from traditional methods to skills-based methods. Right? So fundamentally, it boils down to understanding for each task and each role that you have in the organization, what are the skills that are needed to drive outcomes, right? Then you have to look at what skills do my employees have. Then once you identify those gaps, then you can actually take the relevant intervention in terms of learning and development, or in terms of moving people across the organization, better resourcing, or better talent acquisition practices, right? And if you look at the solutions that are available to these enterprises, right, they have a lot of choices. And in my conversations, it's very clear that no one solution can solve everything. So for example, if you want to provide digital skills, right, helping people understand a new software that has been deployed in the organization, you will definitely need something like a learning in the flow of work sort of a software, or a performance of support software. That is where solutions like digital adoption platforms offer a unique value proposition. And at the end of the day, all this should be tied to business outcomes, right? It's not really a, hey, I just want to make my talent acquisition better. Of course, you can do that, but again, it should be tied to your business outcome, where your talent supply chain is getting disrupted, where your fulfillment of the demand is not being happening, and so on. So everything should be tied to the actual business outcomes that you're trying to drive.
Excellent. Now, what are the biggest challenges that you feel that the organizations are facing while trying to figure this ecosystem of which solutions to go for, or which is the right fit? Again, keeping in mind that there is an entire AI powered solutions out there in the market. Have you done any research which kind of breaks this down and will help the organization? That would be helpful to know.
Yeah, so from a challenge perspective, I see two main challenges. One is just thinking about where to start. Okay? So I've seen two approaches. One is organizations going for a big bang approach, and another one being going step by step. Right? So I believe, given the rapid pace of change that is happening, it is not possible to do a big bang approach, because you need enormous amount of investment, you need multiple stakeholders involved, and so on. The organizations that have really been successful in driving some of these initiatives have started with the low-hanging fruits. Right? They're doing it step by step. So identifying those business champions, that's again very important, because this initiative should not be a really focused on HR or L&D, etc. It should be driven by a business champion. So identifying that highly engaged business stakeholder is number one. The second one is getting the employees to buy into this change and helping them adopt some of these processes changes and philosophy changes. So only when you communicate what's in it for the employees, only then you will be able to drive some of these initiatives to fruition.
Got it. And when you talk about business champions, do you feel that now the L&D or the HR folks, have they really taken up responsibility on driving business change? Have you seen that trend happening?
Yeah, a lot, actually. Some of my recent conversations were really on this topic, actually. A lot of organizations are thinking of moving from a change management philosophy to a change mindset, right?
Interesting.
And that mindset should be driven by the change in culture, the change in processes, and the ability to understand that, okay, you will fail, but it's okay to fail, right? And some of these are driven by the HR and L&D folks, right? So I think they're becoming ever so critical in driving some of these initiatives.
That's great to know. Diving a little deeper, what kind of platforms or solutions are available to support this transformation? How should the organizations prioritize to become a force to reckon with when it comes down to skill-based transformation?
Yeah. So there are various solutions that are available in the market, right? There are solutions that are really focusing on building that skills architecture, right? Really focusing on, hey, what are skills that my organization needs? What are the skills that I have? Essentially the skills inventory. And then understanding what are the gaps, right? So building that core backbone, that is one category of solutions that are really working there. Then there are solutions that have that as well, but they're also bringing in certain L&D components. They're bringing certain talent acquisition components, or let's say career pathing software, and so on. So there are various types of software that are available in the market, right? And recently in a report that we wrote, we talked about why organizations should not just survive all these changes, but they should try to evolve and thrive, right?
Interesting.
So we actually categorized all the solutions available into 3 categories: Guard, Evolve, and Thrive. Right. So for Guard, it would mean solutions that actually help you guard what you have, right? Protect your really valuable assets, help you focus on operational efficiency, cost reduction, and so on. Evolve will be those solutions that can actually transform your processes, right? And Thrive will be those solutions that actually take you to the next level. Okay. So one of the interesting things was digital adoption platforms, which is one of the markets that I am extremely interested in, was present in all the 3 categories, right? That was one of the interesting insights for me from that report.
Excellent. Just extending on that, we've heard a lot about how DAPs are becoming critical for either digital transformation or a change management initiatives, right? And with the recent peak matrix assessment and the publications, what have you heard from the market? What have been your conversations with the buyers? Could you throw some light on that?
Definitely, TD. So I've been tracking this space for close to 6.5 years. A lot has happened.
Yeah.
Even this year in 2024, I believe there have been like 4 or 5 acquisitions, which are really putting more spotlight on this category and really, making it really important, right? It's actually validating all the problems that DAPs have been solving for a long time, right? So what started in 2019, 2020 was digital adoption platforms being used for one particular application or one specific use case. But that has gone through a massive shift, right? Nowadays, when I talk to customers, they are looking at digital adoption platforms across applications, across processes, across business units, so to say, right? And it has become a critical part of their change management or digital transformation initiatives. So essentially, they're building their overall digital transformation strategy around adoption as the core pillar there, right? And we've also seen from a stakeholder perspective, 67% of sponsors are either from IT or HR and L&D. Okay. So L&D stakeholders, while traditionally they have been focusing on digital adoption from a change management perspective, now they are thinking beyond that. Hey, how can I give the right content to the users at the right time, right? So that's how the role of digital adoption platform has changed specifically for an L&D persona as well.
That's amazing to know. And for a listener, Sharath, would you give them a sense of what Peak Matrix is all about? And then the DAP Peak Matrix, what were the key takeaways from that?
Got it. So our Peak Matrix assessment is our proprietary framework, Everest Group proprietary framework that has stood the test of time. We have been doing close to 100 evaluations for the last, I would say, 14 years or so. So we look at more than 200 different parameters to assess different providers on our matrix for the markets that they operate in. So fundamentally, it helps organizations make better sourcing decisions. So we might have 20, 25 providers who are positioned on the Peak Matrix, but there could be 50 players actually operating in the market, right? So even this filtered or prioritized set of providers that are on the peak, they're actually well researched and they have some sort of credibility in the market. And then what we do is we categorize them into leaders, major contenders, and aspirants, right? And we also have star performers. So those are providers who have had significant movement and progress in the last 1 year. Right. So now specifically on the digital adoption platform Peak Matrix assessment, this was the 5th time that we did that. Initially, I believe we positioned around 14 players. This time it was 25. And this time we also did a global view as well as regional cuts of the peak for continental Europe as well as North America. Right. So we interacted with close to 30, 40 companies and we've positioned only 25. And it's been really interesting for me to look at what are the investments the providers are making, listening to the customer stories. So over the last 5 years, I would have talked to more than 500 customers who have actually adopted digital adoption platforms. And some of them have made a career out of it, actually. They have actually grown in their organization because they, building content on digital adoption platforms, or they became project managers for digital adoption initiatives and so on. So there's a whole community around digital adoption platforms as well, which is again really positive.
That's fascinating to know. We would love to hear one story which has stood out this during this assessment. One customer story or one customer from the community, someone who has been using digital adoption platforms to thrive in the organization. Can you share one?
Yeah, definitely. So this was an interesting customer. So fundamentally, they use digital adoption platform across customer service as well as to help the agents as well. Right? So essentially, they looked at one particular part of the puzzle. So they figured out that, hey, our customers, they need to have better experience at the beginning of the day, right? So they first deployed a lot of support and content for the end customers who are actually using their product, whether it could be their website or it could be one of their digital products as well. So first they tried to reduce the number of tickets that come in to the ecosystem, right, to the customer service center. So there also they used a lot of digital adoption features to drive efficiency for the customers, better experience, better adoption of certain new features and so on. So that actually drastically reduced the number of tickets that were coming to the customer service center. And then they also deployed a digital adoption platform in their customer service center as well, right, to help the agents better resolve the tickets.
Understood.
Right. So this was a unique case where they looked at the entire workflow and they identified what are those points where we need to bring in interventions from a digital adoption platform. And now they have expanded to other business units because they are also looking at core banking applications as well. So again, a lot of bank tellers, cashiers who are all working in the banks, they are using this particular application on a daily basis. So imagine the efficiency and productivity that they can get if they have a digital adoption platform guiding them throughout the day.
That's excellent. And I want to bring up, because this is one important insight that came from the report, is that there are particular verticals who have invested in digital adoption platforms more than some of the others, right? So first one was BFSI, there was pharma, manufacturing. And another interesting one that has really stood out this time around was the government and the federal sector as well. So can you share some insights? What makes the BFSI and the pharma sector stand out? What are the use cases that they're exploring? And also government and federal, that's an interesting one. So any insights on that front?
Yeah. Definitely. So in terms of industries and use cases, we can look at them in a couple of different ways, right? One is the use cases that are really horizontal across industries. Then the other one is use cases that are specific to certain industries, right? So as there are certain horizontal applications such as Salesforce or Workday, any HCM ERP that will be there across different organizations from different industries.
Yeah.
But there are also certain applications that are core to certain industries. For example, insurance, if we take an example, we have Duck Creek, Guidewire as some of the core insurance platforms. Right? Similarly, for government, there will be many legacy applications that they may be using. Right? Similar for banking as well. Right? So the trend that we have seen across these industries is all of them want to move away from a legacy business to a digital first business. But it's a common theme that we have seen across the board.
Yeah.
So as part of that, there are a lot of investments already happening as they think about moving from legacy systems to modern cloud-based systems.
Yeah.
Of course, there is a lot of support that they need in change management, onboarding, performance support, as well as insights on whether it's really working or not.
Yeah.
So that is one common use case across the industries, right? The other one could be, for example, if we take the example of insurance, for example, right? Insurance processing is not easy.
Yeah.
Right? The systems are not easy. There are a lot of checks and balances you need to do, right? So having that right support at the right time is really key, right? So for those insurance companies, it's all about productivity and operational efficiency. Some of these purchasing decisions are not taken by HR or L&D, it's by actual business heads or operations heads.
Yeah.
And lastly, if we take an example of a government or a federal government institution in the US, it's not just specific to digital adoption platform market, but we have seen growth in the government sector or public sector and other industries as well. So I think there is a strong focus on becoming more digital first, right? So that would come with its own challenges, and they're always looking for solutions to help them navigate those challenges.
It's really insightful. Another point that really struck with me was Everest Group is projecting the DAP category to hit 1 billion ARR by 2026, if I'm
Yep.
not wrong. Do you stick with that prediction? And what makes you so sure that this is the category which will continue to see more investments coming in?
Absolutely. I think in the recent report that we published, I think it's already at 700 million or so in 2024. And it's growing at a rapid pace, right? I think by 2026, I'm pretty confident that it will reach the 1 billion revenue mark. And one of the things that is working in favor of digital adoption platform is, again, the versatile nature of the solution itself. It's not a one-trick pony, so to say. And again, with the investments that providers are making to really make the platform enterprise grade, platform that can solve multiple problem statements, because the problems that you faced in 2023 is not what we face this year.
Absolutely.
And it's not going to be the same in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah.
So of course, as a category, you need to evolve.
Yeah.
And what I've seen is all the providers are really bullish on that, right? They are willing to invest, they're willing to evolve so that they hit the right pain points for the clients and they're able to solve them. I think that's the mentality of the category that I feel is making me confident that it's going to grow to 1 billion revenue.
Excellent. Now you talked about solving the problems for the customer as the core tenet for this category. What would you advise to someone who is looking into this space as a new investment? What would be, let's say, the top 3 recommendations that you'd give for someone who's looking to get digital adoption platforms in 2025?
God, where do I start, right? Yeah, I mean, it also ties back to the point that I made about Big Bang versus step by step.
And also the Peak Matrix is a great way to plug in.
Yeah. So once you have identified the problem that you really want to solve, whether you need to go at an org-wide sort of deployment or department-wide, or let's say for one specific workflow or one specific application. Right? It also depends on a lot of organizational factors.
Yeah.
Who's the initiating stakeholder?
Yeah.
Who is actually, what is the risk appetite, for example, right?
Okay.
And what's the existing tech ecosystem that they have? Right? So all these organizational determinants will also, guide you on how you should take that journey. Right? So once you have really identified those processes or those really high value use cases, the next step would be to go out and look for a solution. Now you can work with your SI partners or you can directly work with your tech vendors, right? In this case, if you're looking at a digital adoption platform vendor directly, like you said, Peak Matrix is a great starting point. Once you go through the report as well, you'll get to know, hey, if this is your problem statement, who are those providers who are suited to solve your problems and meet your requirements. And the other thing is, you should also not just look at what capabilities they have right now, but you should also look at their roadmap, their vision, and what do they have in terms of customer success, support, and professional services. Right? So what we are saying is, after a point, there will be a lot of overlap between capabilities from different providers. Of course, there will be a lot of unique capabilities that companies will bring to the table. But what really sets apart the leaders and versus the challengers or major contenders would be that ability to meet the customer where they are, be a partner to them, not just right now, the short term, but also in the long term. Right? So those are some of the things that I would encourage all of you to consider as you go along this journey.
That's amazing. Another insight from the report was the component of AI. Of course, we're going to talk about AI and the future of learning and the future of digital adoption platform in itself. It's bound to shape the tech landscape as of today, and it's bound to shape all of the vendors in this space, right? How do you see AI driving technology or AI adoption, the co-pilots and the agent, that adoption, but also the flip side, how is AI transforming the digital adoption platform category as we speak?
Yeah, so a couple of things, right? So one is, how will AI really disrupt or transform the DAP market? That is number one. Number two is, how is DAP going to help organizations in their AI transformation?
Correct.
Now, we have been in the digital transformation era for so long. Going forward, it's all going to be AI transformation. Okay? So I'll talk about that first. So one of the things that we have seen organizations facing difficulty is really around AI adoption, right? And managing all the compliance and risks and all those things. So that's why a lot of organizations are still stuck at the pilot stage, right? And add to this the problem around people and change and all those things, right? So one of the things that digital adoption platforms are doing here in this particular problem statement is guiding users on how to use specific AI tools. Of course, everybody is new to this. Right? It's not like we are master or expert at using AI tools. And there are certain rules that we have to adhere to. There are certain company policies. There could be certain things that you're not supposed to input in certain tools and so on, right? So digital adoption platforms can actually act as a guardrail, saying that, hey, have an announcement or have a guidance, just to telling the employees that, hey, don't do this, or have a take a look at this document, go through this and see what you can do with this application and what you can't. Okay. So that's one of the use cases specifically on AI transformation and AI adoption. Right? The other angle is, hey, how is AI going to impact the DAP market? Right. That's a discussion that we can talk for an entire hour or so. Right. But fundamentally, there are 4 different categories where you can put the impact in, right? One is summarization, one is suggestions, one is authoring, and one is insights and planning. Right? So if you look at summarization, right, with the help of generative AI, most of the DAP providers, at least some of the leading ones, are able to actually bring in content from many places and actually summarize and give to the employees in a succinct and clear and concise manner. Right? We have seen that use case playing out really well for a lot of customers that we've interacted with. The second one is around suggestions. So if you're actually an employee who is really struggling to use a particular application, the AI can actually nudge you and tell you that, hey, why don't you try doing this? Why don't you take this path instead? Or it could also say that, hey, your deadline is X date and you don't have a lot of time to finish certain things. Why don't you do it? Right? From an authoring perspective, it has actually helped a lot of content authors build those workflows and guides and content, right? Using generative AI. That has saved them a lot of time. Lastly, on the insight part, that is really interesting because there are a lot of dashboards and analytics that the digital platform provides. And having that AI layer on top of it can actually help the leaders or help the admin or analytics data analysts actually identify what are those insights that are relevant for them and how they can take action on it. It's not just about showing what the insights are, but it's also about what steps need to be taken. Right? So I would say the impact is massive and it's only for the better.
That's great to know. And thanks for sharing those 4 main blocks where it is getting impacted. And yes, even at Whatfix, we have seen tremendous improvement in terms of the platform capability that we are offering to the customers, but especially the folks who are creating those content, creating those workflows, helping them at the moment of need so that they create better experiences for the wider organization. That has been, I think, one of the critical use cases where we have seen the platform evolve as well. So that's great to know. I would love to chat more, but I think we'll wrap it up with one final question, Sharath, to give our audience what we promised at the start of the conversation, is to give them practical solutions. So if you had to recommend 3 practical solutions looking at 2025, what would those be?
Yeah, so one of the things that we are hearing in the market is around, how do I drive this AI adoption and AI transformation? So I'm expecting a lot of new AI tools to come into the enterprise ecosystem, right? if I look at the number of applications that I was using 2 years back versus now, it would have doubled.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the suggestions for organizations is see whether you need all those tools, or whether you can leverage your existing tools and ask them if they can bring in the AI capabilities. Because one of the things that I've seen is you need to have connected experiences across the ecosystem for employees. Otherwise, the adoption is going to go down and the productivity will go down and so on. Right? So one of the things that I typically ask them is, do you know the AI and tech landscape, right? So currently, if you look at the AI landscape, you can directly work with the LLMs. That's one. Or you can work with native AI tools that are generic in nature, or you can work with native AI tools that are specialized for certain processes, or you can work with embedded applications. Those would be your ERP, HCMs, or other applications that are embedding AI into their product. Right? First is understand the landscape and choose what works best for you. Just because everybody is talking about AI doesn't mean you have to go out in the market and buy the first thing that you see.
Yeah.
Have a strategy around it and try to see what works well for your organization ecosystem. That is number one.
Yeah.
Number two is around people. I think we discussed this before as well. But fundamentally, the people aspect of change or people aspect of technology is sometimes forgotten, I would say. So identify how you can get buy-in from your employees, communicate what's in it for them across any of the initiatives that you're doing, so that it empowers them to perform to their full potential. Okay? So that's the one. The last one I would say is specifically on digital adoption platforms. Again, when you're looking at digital adoption platform vendor selection, when you're trying to buy a digital adoption platform, think about what really works for you in your organizational context. Think about the use cases that you have right now, as well as what you may have in the future. And lastly, I would say again, I talked about a little bit before as well, but it's about moving from the change management philosophy into a change mindset.
Yeah.
Right. So try to build that into your organizational culture, your processes, and try to build that culture of continuous learning and adoption. We also talked about skills-based organization. Let's not forget that, right? And again, that's going to be key going into 2025. And one thing that I would ask organizations to consider is skills is not an HR or L&D initiative. It's a business initiative.
What a quote to end today's podcast. But this has been such an insightful conversation, Sharath. Thank you so much for being an incredible guest and kicking off our new season with such an engaging and insightful conversation. And what a grand opening to season 5. To all our listeners, you can find us on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. I'm your host, TD, signing off. See you in the next episode. It didn't work.